Why I created BitBuzz Crypto. Look, I'm going to tell you straight from the start. This will be the first and final time I say this. I'm not here to shill my own holdings or pump my own bags. I'm here because I believe we're at the start of something very special. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it definitely does rhyme. We saw this happen 2015, 2016. We saw this happen not too long ago, 2019, 2020. And I believe with very high conviction and confidence that we are at the start of something massive once again. The goal of this channel is to expose and educate the masses on cryptocurrency or digital assets, which I believe they will be called in the future. Look, if I can get at least one person, one viewer, male or female, interested in Bitcoin and or cryptocurrency, the goal of this channel will be complete. Because I know once that one person takes the time and due diligence to do their own research and study the market, I know they'll be hooked. Then they'll fall down the rabbit hole, which is cryptocurrency, just like I have. That's when the fun starts. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you some major catalysts, both macro and micro, not just cryptocurrency, but economic cycles as well, and show you how everything aligns so perfectly. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But the numbers are adding up, the cycles are matching, and it's a very, very exciting time ahead. First, for more of a macroeconomic outlook, the 18.6-year real estate cycle. This chart, or this cycle, better call it, has been battle tested through wars, depressions, famines, recessions, pandemics for over 200 years in the US economy and over 300 years in the UK economy. Somehow it always comes out on top and correct. Now, I personally like to follow something that has over 300 years of experience. It shows us. Is it a coincidence everything matches up? I don't know. But I like how it does because it helps me get my head around the market. 2020, it predicted a crash was coming. Did it predict COVID? Probably not. But it did show that we'd have to see the markets. We have to have fear in the market. 2020, the pandemic did cause that. But how does the market know that it's going to do that? How does this cycle know it's going to do that? It's very clever, very impressive. We can see where we are now on this yellow dot. Maybe we're a bit further up around here where my cursor is. We are entering that winner's curse, that Mount Everest peak. This is when shit starts to go crazy. This is when economies are flying. And we can already see it in the stock market now. India, Germany, Australia almost pushing it. Their stock markets are reaching all-time highs. This is where everyone's going to chuck their money into the market, thinking there's never going to be a recession. We're never going to go back down. And then that's when it hits us. We can see over that next 2, 3, 4 year period, the markets will slowly but surely climb its way back down. And then I believe we will see a crash, recession, global crisis, whatever you want to call it, worse than the '08 crash. Because these markets have been going up for such a long time, there needs to be fear back in the market. But before we drop, I see us having a major peak, that winner's curse coming. Some would say we've already started it. But I believe we're around here where the cursor is. We're not reaching that real steep part of that mountain yet. Very exciting times ahead. Next, catalysts for the 2024-2025 crypto bull run. BlackRock and the other 8 spot Bitcoin ETFs. These things currently, as the day of recording, are eating up 1,200% of the daily supply of Bitcoin being dumped on the market by the miners, of course. If we're only 55 days away from the halving, if this level of buying pressure stays the same, we can see these ETFs eating up 2,400% of the daily supply of Bitcoin. That is crazy. That is especially as retail is at an all-time low. We can see the charts on YouTube, on Google. There isn't any interest in Bitcoin. Go speak to anyone you know, your neighbor, your best friend, your dog walker, your hairdresser. No one is speaking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The interest is low. So why is the market pumping? I believe it's the smart money, the institutional money that are pushing these prices higher. Imagine when the retail and the masses come in. That's what's really going to move the market. We've already moved heavy. Imagine retail showing no interest. Imagine when that retail hits. That's when these altcoin season starts. That's when Bitcoin breaks 100,000. That is very, very exciting. Another one. On average, BlackRock is buying 200 million worth of BTC every day. That's just BlackRock's ETF, the iShares iBit ETF. Fidelity, ARK Invest, Bitwise. These things are squeezing the supply. A supply shock is in the making. The supply shock is in the making. Especially when we take a look at charts that Bitcoin, 70% of all Bitcoin is being held for longer than 1 year at the moment. People don't want to sell their Bitcoin because they know what's to come. It's capped at 21 million. We can't see how we got Jerome Powell printing more money here. We can't do that with Bitcoin. It sits at 21 million. That demand, that supply does not move. And that daily supply gets cut in half with the halving. And that demand has to stay, and we've already seen it shot up. It just has to stay. It can even decrease a little bit, but these ETFs are eating these things up. I truly believe in the future we're going to get to a point where there's no BTC left. Where's that going to leave the price? I don't know, but it's very, very exciting. Second, the BTC halving. That's coming up in 55 days. We kind of briefly touched on that. It's going to cut the supply of Bitcoin in half. It's making it very difficult for the miners to be able to mine Bitcoin and eventually make profits on their mining companies. We can see what the Bitcoin halving does for the price. We'll head over to the rainbow chart. These 4 lines are the BTC halvings. These 3 here are the prior halvings. Look what happens maybe a month after. There's a little correction. Maybe kind of buy the rumor, sell the news. Look what happens 2-3 months. Really think. Don't think like the degen dumb money, or look, it's pumping one day, it's dumping one day. You really have to zoom out. Zooming out is one of your best friends because it allows you to look at where you are in the market and gives you that confidence and conviction in what's ahead. Look at this after the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months after the halving. Price doesn't know what to do with itself. It just shoots up. We've seen it happen in 2013, 2014, 2016, 2017, 2020, 2020, and 2021. Look what's coming, baby. 55 days. Bitcoin halving. We can see where the price is at the moment. We are still in that accumulate. We're tossing and turning between that still cheap and accumulate. We're not at the buy, basically a fire sale anymore. Not a lot of people picked up at this time. The smart money were. When we go to the shopping center, we go to the grocery store, we see the watermelons, the bread's on sale. Do we buy it? Of course we do. How come when Bitcoin and cryptocurrency goes on sale, we don't buy it? We're very fearful. We let our emotions play with us too much in the market. The emotions is what kills us in the market. We're still in cheap, still accumulate. Based off this chart, we could see prices pushing much, much higher. That's what the Bitcoin halving does for us. Next, the Fed cutting rates. Look, I believe they're looking for a soft landing, especially in election year. These things tie up very well. Joe Biden, he's coming up against Donald Trump. He cannot afford to have the economy struggling this year. There's a stat. Every time in an election year, when the month of January is green, that year ends up being a net positive year for the economy and for the markets. Well, truth be told, 2024 January in the stock market in cryptos ended as a positive month. But this stat's more correlated to the stock market, and obviously the stock market and crypto market, they're risk on assets, so they are correlated in some way. Stock market was green in January. 100% of the time, every time it's done this, it's end up being a net positive for the year. I don't like to deal in 100% because we never know what could happen, but the data is telling us 100% at the current time. Very exciting times ahead. The Feds will look to cut rates. The interest, the US is too high in debt. They can't be paying that much interest on their debt. They're going to have to look to cut rates. That, on top of the election year, very bullish for the economy. They're going to have to turn the money printer just as Jerome Powell is doing here. Very exciting. Bonus, I do believe the ETH ETF will get approved. Look, when BlackRock chucks their name in it, they're 501 for ETF approvals. We've seen it. They won the lawsuit, just like Grayscale won the lawsuit against the SEC. The same thing happened for ETH, where they accepted the futures ETF. Now they have to accept the spot ETF. I do believe that ETH will be getting an ETF. We can go to the ETH deadline chart quickly. ARK 21 shares, and VanEck 88 days away. 88 days for their final deadline for the ETH ETF. That's a tongue twister, that one. Ethereum ETF. Then what's next? Is it Solana? Is it Chainlink? Is it Render? I love Render. Very exciting for ETH in the future. Very exciting for ETH in the future. These are major catalysts, I believe. It's simple supply and demand. If the supply gets cut in half, but the demand stays the same, but I believe it's going to be even growing more and more and more with ETFs, with retail coming back. Where's that going to leave the price? It's going to squeeze it. That's when that supply shock happens. That is the power of crypto. That's the opportunity in front of us, just like it says it there. It's so obvious when you break it down like this. Even in my eyes, in my head, it's so obvious what's ahead of us. I'm very, very excited. To break it down simply, Bitcoin works in this 3 years up, 1 year down kind of pattern. I know this is a bit off topic, but I do believe the next bear market will be the first multi-year bear market as we enter that major crash after the winner's curse of the 18.6-year real estate cycle. I believe that will be our first multi-year bear market, but I don't believe we're at that point at the moment as we progress into this bull run. Next, we could see the lows. We've seen that year, the 2022, the FTX collapse, the banking crisis, or that was 2023, SBF imprisonment, Celsius, all these major crypto catalysts that dumped the price heavily. That was that 1 year down. Now we are entering that 3 years up again. Very, very exciting for where we leave the market. Next, we already touched on this. Power of the BTC halving. We're still in the accumulate and still cheap. We are tossing and turning between that. Look, we're still at good buys, especially for some of our altcoins. For where they can go in the future, I do believe we are still at good prices. Yes, you're not going to get your 30, 40, even 20 X's, but you can still get some solid 10 to 15 X's on these altcoins. Check out my last video if you want to know which ones. Another chart that shows us that we're really progressing in this bull market. You can see 1, 2, and 3. Every time we're in a bear market, I like to call this the river chart. I'm not too sure the actual name of it. I call it personally the river chart. Once the river starts to go red, that's the bear market. That's where we should be accumulating our Bitcoin and our cryptocurrencies. Prices are low. As soon as that kind of switch flips and goes into green, look at the run-ups we have. It's truly immense. It kind of is straight up, but we do see corrections. You can't see it too well in this chart. We do see corrections, and they are quite heavy. If Bitcoin does 20, 30%, our alts will pull back 60, 70%. Second example, look, it was only red for a little bit this time. Red, that's the prices you want to be accumulating up. And then we saw that obviously pandemic crash, still didn't break the lows and just kept rising and rising up again. This year we had the longest red river we've seen so far. Major bear market, wrecked a lot of people, accumulation like crazy. Now look where we are. We're starting to enter that green. How exciting is that? It puts a smile to my face. That green is coming. Where's that going to leave the price? Look at my cursor. I can't even put it to the screen. We really are moving higher and higher and higher. Now, this is where our alt season starts to flip and our altcoins start to outperform BTC. People start to roll over their BTC profits into ETH, into the large caps, into then the mid and lower caps. We need BTC. We need BTC to break that 0.68 Fibonacci extension, also known as the 50% level, where the arrow is there. If we can break and hold above that, that's when I truly believe the altcoin season and Ethereum dominance will start to take over. We can already see it starting to move. I do believe that's the bottom there. Shout out to Jason Pizzino and Michael Pizzino for talking about this, by the way. Highly educated me on this sort of stuff. Shout out to them. Look, we might see a little bit of a little bit of a pause in the market at the 50% level. But if we can break and hold that 50% level on a higher time frame, then a longer time frame, then I believe that's when ETH will start to take over. That's when your mid caps, your large caps, your small caps, this is when the flow of capital starts to switch. And this is when our altcoins like to run. ETH BTC, it's moving. ETH is slowly starting to gain back market dominance. This is very, very exciting for our altcoins. Now, to understand which altcoins to get into, narratives. Narratives are your best friend. This is where the money flows into for our altcoins. I've compiled 4 of my favorite narratives that I believe will be the strongest the next bull run, and data backs it up. Most popular crypto narratives of 2023 was artificial intelligence and GameFi. Big data and DeepIn and AI, those 3 I do believe all fall under one big thing. Even DeepIn maybe a little bit different, but we've seen to start off 2024, DeepIn has been the strongest. Stuff like Akash, Render, Flux, they've been your strongest. Even going above GameFi. These are winners win in this market. They continue to. The new shiny thing in the market is what people want. And AI, big data, deep in GameFi, and I believe strong Web3 layer 1s such as Solana, such as ICP, such as NIA Protocol, Mina Protocol are your best projects to get into. Not financial advice, but this is where I would be putting my money. Or for educational purposes, this is where I would be putting my money. These are your strongest narratives. We can see it here. This is where the most traffic is going to go into. The more traffic, the more capital that's going to flow into these coins, especially AI, DeepIn, GameFi. A lot of the newer projects in these narratives is where the money will flow. That is very, very exciting. Now, what I like to do is to pick out 2 to 3 altcoins, maybe 1 to 2, depends on your capital situation. And I would look to move in to the stronger altcoins out of these narratives. I believe these will give you your biggest returns. We already went through the ETH ETF, 88 days. I do believe this does get approved. I'm about 75% sure. Look, if this ETH ETF gets approved, what's next? Solana, Chainlink. What is next? Maybe XRP. But I believe these institutions will slowly go down the rabbit hole, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and they'll pick out their top quality projects, top quality narratives, and they will provide ETFs for these things. And that is going to bring such big demand for these for the cryptos, for the market, for these projects. And with these being lower market caps like the ones we like to dabble into, very, very exciting. Look, I hope I got you interested in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency. I hope you take the time to do your own due diligence and research in the market, in some of these narratives I spoke about. Maybe expand with more charts, do your own research, find narratives and projects you like. You can check out my last video to check out which projects I'm heavily bullish on. And yeah, very exciting times ahead. All glory to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Very exciting times ahead. See you in the next video.